2-point game. DeJulius puts up a three. And goal!
Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Russ Heltman of Cincinnati Bearcats on SI. He is Neil Meyer of Rivals Cincinnati Outlet, thefrontofficenews.com. And we are ready to get you up to speed on the latest with Cincinnati Bearcats basketball and football. Touching on both sports today. Much happier, much better vibes on this show compared to the start to the week as Cincinnati proved us wrong. Neil and I both picked against them on Wednesday. And the offense, I don't think anyone saw that coming, even if you picked the Bearcats, put up a season second best total in terms of total points, 93 in the entire game. They last time they played BYU, the next upcoming opponent, they posted 52 points in the entire game, and they posted 53 points in the second half against UCF on Wednesday night. We will touch on that, touch on the latest commitment to Cincinnati from the 2025 class, Tyson Burns, a late add and a 3-star addition at that, versatile athlete. Get to his commitment that happened right in the middle of the game on Wednesday night, plus a preview of BYU, what should be a nip-tuck battle, very tight affair, once again in the Big 12 in front of a freshly announced sold-out crowd at Fifth Third Arena. Before we get to all that, though, got to tell you about the biggest betting weekend of the year. It's finally here, which means more updated odds and props for Super Sunday. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. They have hundreds of prop bets and MVP odds and exclusive in-game live betting. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion, whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor. BetOnline offers you everything and more to enhance your game day experience. Visit the website today and make the game day action count a little bit more. BetOnline, the game starts here. Neil, the Bearcats got it done on Wednesday night, 93-83. The offense comes alive in large part, from my view, due to the continued starting of Day Thomas. The second 20-point-plus performance of the season to match Simas Lukosius's outing in the first game of the year. That's how long it's been since the Bearcat has posted 20-plus points. Had 4 different Bearcats hit 15-plus points in this game, including Dylan Mitchell, who had a season high as well, shot 60+% from the field, had 6 rebounds. Scary injury worry on a non-contact jump up for a dunk in the open floor, but ended up returning to the game. I think he should be good to go for the game on Saturday. Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing flared up or got swelled in the ensuing days. And Neil, the Bearcats this season, when they take, I believe it's 62 or 63 shots in a game, they are now 6-1 overall. Pace it up.
Yeah, no, most certainly, Russ. And I mean, let's talk about Wednesday night. I was live on scene in Orlando, and what was a back and forth battle for the first half. I mean,
weathering through the no Wi-Fi. You're a champion for that too, Neil.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi, don't even get me started on that issue. Russ, poor Scott and I, we were sitting there next to each other, and we're like, next thing you know, Scott's goes out first. Like, mine automatically connected from the last time I was at BYU. Scott's Wi-Fi goes
Springer
out.
of the Inquirer, right?
Inquirer, yep. And his Wi-Fi goes out. He looks to me. He goes, here we go again. And the next thing you know, mine goes out. Mine goes out in the 8-0 run in the first half, and then it comes back, and then I fighting it all game. It went out like 6 or 7 times just in the first half alone. I was like, hot spot. Here we go. That got me through the game. But overall, let's talk about that game, Russ. Day Thomas was fantastic in this one. 18 first half points. I thought he set the tone tremendously for Cincinnati. They needed an edge. They needed somebody to be aggressive on offense. And man, since coming into the starting lineup this past week, he has done just that. He showed his ability to push the tempo versus West Virginia, and coming out to an 8-for-11 start versus BYU or versus UCF on Wednesday night. What
was he shooting? I think Neil, he was shooting 35% entering the game. He started 8-for-11.
And what he did so well was he broke down UCF's defense in the paint. He just found ways to create separation, get to the mid-range, get to the bucket and attack. And then obviously they hone in on him in the second half. And what does that do, Russ? That allows Jizzle James to take over, do the exact same thing. They couldn't guard Day in the first half. They make the adjustments on him, And what does it do? It opens things for Jizzle James, who had 11 points in the second half, finished with 15. That was a great sight to see. Overall, the offense was clicking, man. Aziz Bandago probably played his best offensive night of the season. 7 for 8 field goals, 16 points, 6 rebounds. Dylan Mitchell was fantastic. I loved how they established the ball inside to him early and tried to get him going around the rim. That was the fantastic part of this one. Now, the injury, Russ, was very scary because it happened right in front of us there on Media Row, but he picks the pass off. And I don't know if you watched the game back or not yet, Russ. He took off from literally one step in front of the free throw line. That's where that knee kind of buckled and hyperextended a little bit, but it was a scary sight to see, especially when he went down. The look on his face, like I had to zoom in with my camera to make sure, like, see what they were really kind of looking at. And the look did not look good from when Dylan Mitchell was on the ground. To see him walk back out of here on his own and then finish the game strong, just like he was playing before the injury, was a great sight to see for Cincinnati. To avoid a potential serious injury is always a good news for that aspect. But let's talk about it, Russ. We're talking about the game, right? Bob Huggins in attendance. Gets in the locker room before the game. Wes Miller invites him in the locker room. It was a special moment for Wes. I mean, seeing him post game, I asked him about it. I said how special it was to have him there. And you could just see the joy, the smile about how much it meant for Wes Miller to have Bob Huggins there in attendance in Orlando on Wednesday night.
Was really cool. Him talking to the team, just his presence being there, and it kind of added a little bit more. Not that there wasn't already a ton of importance on the game, but a little bit extra boost from the legendary UC coach making an appearance. And Neil, in this game, they played free. They played loose. They played like they love the sport of basketball. They've been playing so tight, so uptight over the last few weeks, especially in the half court, especially when that shot clock starts to dribble away towards double zeros. And what catalyzed that? Not a hard practice,
Dodgeball, baby.
Not sprints, duck, dip, dive, dodgeball. Unbelievable. They played dodgeball on Monday. Wes Miller said that it kind of rekindled the joy that the entire team had for competition coming off of, I mean, you could argue the worst loss and the worst feeling vibes of the entire Wes Miller era from coming out of Saturday's loss to West Virginia. And just that little tweak. Sometimes, humans, we're a fickle species. You never know what's going to work. And whoever came up with that idea, Wes Miller, I don't know, I don't think gave actual credit to who came up with the idea.
That's something they've done in the past too. I don't know if you remember right last year. I only remember this because when he said dodgeball, all I could think about was that picture of Odie Oguama last year in their trip to Chicago, where Odie was
that's right, in the team building,
throwing 90 is what the stance looked like he was ready to throw some heat. But that's kind of what sparked it. So this has kind of been something that he's kind of done in recent years. Like we saw it in the offseason last year with the trip to Chicago. Now you see it here during the season. So it's a pretty unique thing for Wes Miller.
Great defense on the other end in terms of, you don't like to see them give up 83 points, but there was a ton of possessions in this game. I mean, UCF took 67 shots. They out-rebounded Cincinnati 39-27. You don't want to see that, but UC counteracted that with a 16-10 turnover advantage and turning those turnovers into an 18-13 points off turnover advantage as well. Keyshawn Hall got his points, but not very efficiently, 8 for 18 from the field, only took 8 free throws. They only took 18 free throws as a team. We said that was a huge key. Could not let them get to the line 20 plus times, and you could not let them hit a volume of 3-point shots, which that defense on the outside returned back to what we are used to seeing out of this UC outfit throughout much of the season. Only allowed 5 of 22 from deep. And then looking back at the Bearcats, I think this is the formula. You have to just kind of throw caution to the wind a little bit, be okay with some bad shots early in the shot clock, but just continue spamming the possessions, continue spamming the shot diet. And Neil, Wes Miller shortened his rotation pretty heavily in this game. Only 6 guys played 17 plus minutes in this contest. And you had CJ Frederick, Josh Reed, and Tyler Betsy all hovering between 13 and 10. Day Thomas with 34 minutes. If he can handle it, keep feeding him that kind of minute diet. Dylan Mitchell, same way, 31 minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
It's worth noting too, on Tyler Betsy's minutes, only playing 12 minutes, but his effort
scored 8 points.
The second half, if he doesn't get those 8 points there, Russ, I don't know what happens in that game. I mean, he
Right.
hit two
He
clutch
hit two of
threes.
the
He had a
5
huge,
UC threes, and he had I think that was his highest
and
conference point total.
yeah, and both of the threes, I don't know if you remember, the one was a very well contested three over a 7'2" Mustafa Thiam, and then the second one was over, if I remember, Keyshawn Hall in contest. So overall, Tyler Betsy played huge. So you got to give him props as well, despite only the
Yeah.
minute allotment. But he played a bigger role than people might might see in the Bearcats win over UCF.
Yeah, only a 10-point win, and 8 of those points, eight of that deficit created by Tyler Betsy, making an impact like Wes Miller said he would in conference play. And we'll see if that impact can continue against BYU. A quad 1 win, Neil. The first quad 1 win of the season for Cincinnati. They were the only preseason ranked team, and shout out to Keegan Nicholson of Bearcat Journal noting this a couple weeks ago. Only preseason ranked team in the AP Top 25 to not yet have a quad 1 win. They've gotten that monkey off their back, and now they have another quad 2 opportunity at home against BYU, another chance to show that they are not the team that traveled out west a couple weeks ago in that Utah road trip. Not necessarily back in NCAA tournament contention. When we look at Bart Torvik right now and you look at where they actually stand overall, they're still hovering around 1% on team rankings. And in Bart Torvik's metric, pulling it up right now, 3.7% total chance to make an at-large bid. So there's a lot of work to be done. They likely have to win 3 of the 4 remaining guaranteed quad 1 games on the schedule and get to about 21 to 22 wins to end up making the NCAA tournament. But that's way in the way down the road right now. You just wanted to see them respond, see them play like Bearcat basketball is supposed to be played. And that's exactly what we saw on Wednesday night, a high energy performance from a team that made some tweaks via Wes Miller's lineups, and the tweaks worked beautifully. So props to Wes Miller, props to the coaching staff for doing the things needed between Saturday and Wednesday, whether it was dodgeball to bringing in Bob Huggins to the locker room to making those lineup changes. It led to a victory, and the first quad 1 victory, a big road victory for the Bearcats this season. 13-9 overall, going up against BYU, who is 15-7, 6-5 in conference. We'll get to that. But first, we got to talk about the football edition on the 2025 recruitment commitment ledger. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by Bet Online. Bearcat Blitz returns. Neil Meyer and your other co-host, yours truly, Russ Heltman, here to tell you about Tyson Burns. Neil, the newest addition to the 2025 recruiting class. Cincinnati has added the 3-star talent, another local, or not necessarily local, but an Ohio guy out of the Columbus area. Burns, a 3-star recruit on 24/7 Sports. They have him ranked 186th among athletes and 107th among players in Ohio. Held a healthy 18 offers from schools like Marshall and Kentucky before rolling with Cincinnati earlier this week. He is their 20th commit in the class, 6 foot, 150 pounds. Got to get him a little bit more bulked up in the Nico Palazetti weight room before he really honestly gets on the field, but has played safety, cornerback, running back. He's a guy that can make an impact at multiple spots.
Yeah, most definitely. And obviously this is a late addition to the 2025 class as well. But overall, Russ, it's going to be interesting to see how does Tayshaun Burns really play into this Cincinnati defense. So, I mean, he also has been a guy that visited Cincinnati multiple times throughout the process. So it's going to be interesting, but also sprung the news right in the middle of the Bearcat basketball game. So it kind of went under the radar, but another late addition for Scott Satterfield and this staff. Obviously from Gahanna Lincoln, they have been able to recruit that Columbus area pretty well in their first 2 years. So it's great to add another addition from kind of local, close to home, but overall, this is another good addition for Cincinnati.
I agree. And when you look at what they've done so far, I mean, they're still hovering in the low 60s nationally in terms of overall class ranking on 24/7 Sports, and that's just kind of where it is. I've had the conversation with people, like, they have obviously gotten better in the transfer portal, and it's clear, Neil, that they're allocating the NIL funds, the monetary resources, towards those guys in the portal that they have college game tape on, have college level solid production, and are guys that you can probably historically rely on more to make obviously an immediate impact this coming season and beyond, compared to going for the top ranked player in the city of Cincinnati, throwing all your NIL money at him, and then hoping, fingers crossed, that he ends up working out and being a great player, and not probably as a freshman, but you would hope he could be it for his entire career, but you're not getting that impact right away.
Yeah, no, most certainly, especially in society nowadays and college athletics and the transfer portal and all that. It's very hard to see freshmen come in and make an impact right away. So overall, it's going to be interesting to see, is this a guy who can come in and be one of those utility knives, since he has so much versatility at multiple different positions, whether that's on special teams, running back, cornerback, safety, whatever it might be. It's going to be interesting to see how can he really come in and make an impact for this team. But Russ, like you mentioned, it's going to be hard to do that in year one in the new landscape of college football. Transfer portal's wild, NIL's wild, recruiting's kind of wild to cover nowadays. So it's going to be interesting, but anytime you can get a late addition, there's nothing wrong with that.
Agreed. Yeah. Adding more talent. Never going to argue with that for sure. Taysom Burns, welcomed to the Cincinnati football program, and they're hard at work right now, not getting any like real kind of positional drills or anything like that. It is Nico Palizzetti led right now in the winter workouts. He's getting them hungry out there on Nippert Stadium's field and getting them hungry in the weight room ahead of, I mean, Neil, are we basically 5 weeks away from spring ball? A little less than 5 weeks, something like that. It's coming up. And it'll be a lot of fun to see how they look down there at Nippert Stadium. The final spring ball, most likely inside Nippert Stadium, maybe forever, because the indoor performance facility will be ready to roll for next spring, and it's slated to be opened at the end of May this year. Very excited to see how that fully comes together. They are putting the finishing touches, getting that all cleaned up and spruced up, ready to open in just a few months. It's going to be very cool to get I can't wait to, because we've had a couple tours of just construction. I'm anticipating, Neil, I can't wait to see the final tour, the creme de la creme, and getting some of the first boots on the ground in that building will be very cool to see. And it would be cool to see the Bearcats continue this strong run on the basketball court and get some revenge against BYU. We'll give our preview and prediction on that game coming up after these messages on Bearcat Blitz. All righty, Neil, tail of the tape after Cincinnati lost to BYU back on January 25th, 80-52. The Bearcats enter this game kind of pacing behind the Cougars overall. When we think about this matchup, Cincinnati ranks on the season right now 51st in the net and 56th in KenPom, while BYU is 35th in the net and 33rd on KenPom. And Neil, I sent this in one of our Bearcat group chats yesterday. UC very good this year at beating bad teams, at taking out the lesser opponents. They don't have many bad losses on the ledger, but they don't have a ton of great wins either. There's the, like you mentioned, just the one quad one victory for Cincinnati on the season. Cincinnati in 2024-25 has a 1-6 record in quad one and 5-3 record in quad two. Need to get that to 6-3 in this game. Overall, when we look at the offensive storylines here, to me, and real quick, you see 2-2 against BYU since the 1949-50 season now, and Bart Torvik projects them to lose this contest 68-66. To me, you got to figure out a way to keep running. They're not going to shoot close to 60% like they did against UCF. I would be surprised if that happened again, but BYU is going to give them some opportunities to do that, despite being the 194th ranked team nationally in adjusted tempo on Ken Palm. And the biggest thing against this BYU defense, Neil, is don't get sucked into those bad, inefficient, deep 2 jump shots like they had so many times in the first matchup and like so many teams are getting sucked into against BYU. 36.2% of BYU's opposing team shots are from long 2-point range. Cincinnati, not good at hitting those. No teams are really great at hitting them, but UC especially bad, 40.6% on the season. Get to the rim, get moving, get downhill, get 65 plus shots up if you can, again, like they did against UCF. I think it's going to be the best way to keep Dylan Mitchell rolling, and the best way is to get him the ball offensively. Dede Thomas, I expect him to start again and continue to push the ball and push the pace downhill. 6 assists against UCF. That was a team high in the game. And forced turnovers. Big factor here because BYU not great at turnover defense, at limiting turnovers on their end of the floor. 192nd nationally in turnover rate. But, Neil, they destroy teams on the boards. So if UC does not force turnovers, get out on the break offensively, I think they're going to really struggle to keep up with the amount of possessions that BYU is going to be able to create because they have a +7 rebounding advantage so far this year. And, Neil, their defensive rebound rate is 24.3%, which is 7th best nationally, according to Bart Torvik. They got a lot of guys that can hit the glass, and UC is going to have to make sure that they don't get dominated on the boards, create enough turnovers to get out and run, and try to get that shot diet boosted up close to the mid-60s.
Yeah, for me, Russ, in this one, it's defending the 3 ball. If Cincinnati can defend the 3 ball like they did at UCF and hold BYU to 5 threes, heck, you take it, right? Considering BYU went 11 for 14 from behind the arc in the second half alone in the first matchup, you have to find a way to defend the 3 as well. Keep that up. Obviously, continue to get back to being one of the best 3-point defending teams in the country. They do that, they're in great hands. But like you mentioned, you got to find a way to continue to push the tempo. Dede Thomas, Jizzle James, push the tempo. Try to get 60 shots up here. But the biggest thing for me, Russ, is you have to protect home court the rest of the season out. That's been a big emphasis all season long, right? Protect home court. Cincinnati has not done that this year. They're 8-4 at home on the season. They have not played well at Fifth Third Arena with majority of those, I believe, Russ, 7 of those wins at home came in non-conference, if I remember, right? The only Big 12 victory at home.
All 4 losses are in the Big 12 for sure.
Yeah, the only win in the Big 12 came against
Arizona
State team. So outside of that, you have to find ways to string some momentum and protect home court. Right now, your back's up against the wall. You have to protect Fifth Third Arena. Because for fans, obviously you have Bob Huggins coming to the locker room on the road at UCF. I bet you one of the things that came out of his mouth in that locker room, Russ, was you get the job done here, then you got to go on and protect home court. I'm sure he probably caught up with Coach West after the game as well, but have to defend home court. That's the biggest thing in this one because the fans have not been really pleased this year, right? And
they're responding, Neil. That game's sold out tomorrow. It is officially sold out as of an hour ago.
And now you have a sellout at home. So why not protect home court and give that 13,500 fans a reason to come back and continue to give you the support through this trialing season right now, especially with how much talent here. They know what's at stake. The fans are going to bring the energy. Let's go out there and protect Fifth Third Arena, right?
I'm with you, Neil. And when you think about that defense, defending the 3, Neil, it starts with cutting off the head of the snake. Freshman phenom, Igor Dimon. He is the driver of this offense, 35% assist rate, just nasty, especially for a freshman. I mean, to have that kind of floor vision, to have that kind of unselfishness at 6'9", really impressive. His floor vision unlocked his shooting, which has not been unlocked very often, and that's what happened in the game last month. They have to hound him in the half court. They got to keep the Cougars away from the offensive glass, and you got to sell out as hard as you possibly can on those 3-point attempts. It's not going to be easy. 45th best deep shooting team in the country, 37%. They got 4 guys, Neil, shooting 35+% on the season in their rotation from deep. But it starts with Denham. They cannot let him have 7+ assists again in this game. You got to figure out a way to keep the ball out of his hands, deny him the basketball, make BYU work late in the shot clock, and make some mistakes that will lead to the turnovers that I mentioned, them being kind of more prevalent to have this season. If they can get him off the rhythm and shoot close to 45%, 50%, it's not asking a whole lot, especially at home, then I think they're going to have a great chance to get a win here. Give me the Bearcats in a little bit higher scoring game than we're used to. 75-74 going down to the wire in a great night contest at Fifth Third Arena. 17-5 now in my season predictions after missing the Bearcats win on Wednesday. Neil, what do you got for a score?
Yeah, overall, I like where you're going with Igor Demon. Obviously, he's the head of the snake for BYU. 7 assists in 25 minutes, 5 rebounds, 15 points in the first matchup. And Russ, now that he's getting comfortable coming off after missing some time, he has been electric for them. And he has really found his stride over the recent weeks. But for Cincinnati, you go with Igor. They got to find a way to stop Richie Saunders. That is a guy who has killed Cincinnati in the last 2 years, especially coming off a 21-point performance, 5 rebounds in the first matchup where he shot 5 of 7 from behind the arc. That can't happen on Saturday night. And if that does happen, I'm expecting points to be scored, Russ. Obviously, the line hasn't came out yet with the over-under or whatnot, but I'm expecting the over to hit this weekend. I'm expecting some points up there in Fifth Third Arena this week, especially following a 93-point performance on Wednesday night and what this matchup means. BYU scored 80 in the first one. Points are going to be scored here at Fifth Third Arena on Saturday. But for me, Russ, you got to find ways to contain Richie Saunders and Igor Demon. If you can do that, Bearcats should be able to take this one. I'm rocking with the Bearcats 75-72 in favor of the Bearcats. Close game.
Gonna be fun. We'll see if they can keep it rolling and get back-to-back wins in conference play for just the second time this season and start to really pick up some momentum entering the final stretch run of conference play and entering an overall stretch run that's going to be very difficult. You got Utah at home on Tuesday, and then 4 of your next 5 games are quad 1 outings when you go at Iowa State, at West Virginia, quad 2 home against TCU, home against Baylor, quad 1, and at Houston. We're going to really see where this team and this program truly stands over the next couple of weeks. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Heltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz, presented by Bet Online. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.
This is the second. 15 seconds left. Shot clock off. 4-point game. DeJulius puts up a 3.